Let's say China.
China.
There are next-door neighbors, and you can actually see Russia from land here in Alaska.
You go over to China.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Trump tweeting out insults to Angela Merkel? What's he doing?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host.
Yes. Hello and welcome. I am James Andrews and you are listening to So This Happened. Truly the only news you need. And with that guarantee and $3, you can go to any coffee shop and get a cup of Joe. It is Wednesday, the 7th of June, 2017, and today we begin with my favorite punching bag, that antelope murdering twat, Eric Trump. Eric was on Sean Hannity last night, and truly the douchebag meter was going off the chain with those two in the same room. And here is what Eric said.
Hey, Sean, how are you?
Don't you wish you went to Washington so you could be dealing with this every second of every day?
You know what? I've never seen hatred like this. I mean, to me, they're not even people. It's so sad. I mean, morality's just gone. Morals have flown out the window. We deserve so much better than this as a country.
Right.
And, you know, it's so sad. You see the Democratic Party. They're imploding. They have no message. You see the head of the DNC, who is a total whack job. There's no leadership there. And so what do? They become obstructionists because they have no message of their own. They have no solid candidates of their own. They lost the election that they should have won because they spent 7 times the amount of money that my father spent. They have no message. So what do they try and do? They try and obstruct a great man. They try and obstruct his family. They come after us viciously.
Eric,
and it's truly horrible.
Whoa, easy, Tiger. Not even people? The Democrats are not even people? Eric, really, mate? And then you have the audacity to go on about how the morals in society have completely and utterly disappeared, when it was announced just yesterday by Forbes that your foundation, the Eric Trump Foundation, paid the Trump Organization more than $1.2 million for fundraising events, despite the claims that the family golf course was being used for free. This was a charity to help kids with cancer. The article then went on to say that the Donald J. Trump Foundation apparently used Eric's charity to funnel $100,000 in donations into revenue for the Trump Organization. And so while the donors to this charity were told that all the money was going to go help sick kids, well, more than $500,000 was redonated to other charities, many of which were connected to the Trump family members or interests, including at least 4 groups that subsequently paid to hold golf tournaments at Trump golf courses. Eric, come on, mate. Hey, Kettle, I'm the pot and you're black. Come on, man. Now, as much as I would like to put all the blame on Eric, in all fairness, I do have to point out that according to a former membership and marketing director of the Trump National Westchester Golf Course, when Donald Trump found out that Eric was using the golf courses for free, Mr. Trump, and I quote, had a cow. He flipped. He then said, "I don't care if it's my son or not. Everybody gets billed." So then Eric started paying to use the golf course for a charitable foundation, which essentially was like putting money into his own pocket. See where I'm going with that? Yeah, it's a beautiful system if you can work it out. I mean, my hat is off to you. Way to scam the people. And those poor little cancer kids. That's sad, man. And you may say, Eric, that I am not a person. But let me tell you something. I've never ripped off a cancer kid before. Never. And then next, I was going to talk about how there's going to be a new FBI director now, and then I was going to talk about how Donald Trump made a speech today about the infrastructure of America, which actually surprisingly wasn't that bad, but unfortunately he had a few little jabs in there which are going to make it so that nobody's going to vote yes on this plan. But I can't talk about any of that because James Comey's prepared opening statement for tomorrow has just been released, and so we are going to take a look at that. And when I say we, I'm actually feeling a little bit lazy. So on CNN, Brooke Baldwin read the statement, so we're going to listen into her reading it so you don't have to listen to me read into it. Or something like that. And that's why I don't read statements, so we're just going to let Brooke do it. So here she is.
This January 27th dinner. So this is what Mr. Comey writes. The president and I had dinner on Friday, January 27th at 6:30 p.m. in the green room at the White House. He had called me at lunchtime that day and invited me to dinner that night, saying he was going to invite my whole family, but decided to have just me this time, with the whole family coming the next time. It was unclear from the conversation who else would be at the dinner, although I assumed there would be others. It turned out to be just the two of us, seated at a small oval table in the center of the green room.
There were candles on the table and violin music playing. It was very romantic.
2 Navy stewards waited on us, only entering the room to serve food and drinks. The president began by asking me whether I wanted to stay on as FBI director, which I found strange because he had already told me twice in earlier conversations that he hoped I would stay. And I had assured him that I intended to. He said that lots of people wanted my job, and given the abuse I had taken during the previous year, he would understand if I wanted to walk away.
He did mention Jared at that point, who does need 1 or 2 more responsibilities.
James Comey goes on. My instincts told me that the one-on-one setting and the pretense that this was our first discussion about my position meant the dinner was, at least in part, an effort to have me ask for my job and create some sort of patronage relationship. That concerned me greatly, given the FBI's traditionally independent status in the executive branch. I replied that I loved my work and intended to stay and serve out my 10-year term as director. And then, because the setup made me uneasy, I added that I was not, quote, reliable in the way politicians use that word. But he could always count on me to tell him the truth. I added that I was not on anybody's side politically and could not be counted on in the traditional political sense, a stance I said I was in the best interest of the president. A few moments later, the president said, and I'm quoting James Comey, "I need loyalty. I expect loyalty." I didn't move, speak, or change my facial expression in any way during the awkward silence that followed.
And to be fair, I've actually never seen James Comey's face look anything but what it does in still photographs.
We simply looked at each other in silence.
That's quite romantic, actually, isn't it? Just staring into each other's eyes. I'm sorry, I'll let Brooke finish because I'm just fucking all this up, aren't I?
The conversation then moved on, but he returned to the subject near the end of our dinner. At one point, I explained why it was so important that the FBI and the Department of Justice be independent of the White House. I said it was a paradox. Throughout history, some presidents have decided that because problems come from justice, they should try to hold the department close. But blurring those boundaries ultimately makes the problems worse by undermining public trust in the institutions and their work. Near the end of our dinner, the president returned to the subject of my job, saying he was very glad I wanted to stay, adding that he had heard great things about me from Jim Mattis, Jeff Sessions, and many others. He then said,
"How do you like the chocolate cake?"
"I need loyalty."
Okay, he didn't say that, but he did say I need loyalty.
I replied, "You will always get honesty from me." He paused and then said, "That's what I want, honest loyalty." I paused and then said, "You will get that from me." As I wrote in the memo I created immediately after the dinner, it is possible we understood the phrase honest loyalty differently, but I decided it wouldn't be productive to push it further. The term honest loyalty had helped end a very awkward conversation, and my explanations had made it clear what he should expect. During the dinner, the president returned to the salacious material I had briefed him on January 6th, and he had done previously expressed his disgust for the allegations and strongly denied them. he's in closing in this section, he said he was considering ordering me to investigate the alleged incident to prove it didn't happen. I replied that he should give that careful thought because it might create a narrative that we're investigating him personally, which we weren't, and because it was very difficult to prove a negative. He said he would think about it and asked me to think about it. As was my practice for conversations with President Trump, I wrote a detailed memo about the dinner immediately afterwards and shared it with the senior leadership team of the FBI.
So, wow, there it is. Donald Trump did, in fact, ask James Comey for loyalty. Honest loyalty, but loyalty nonetheless. And unfortunately, Brooke didn't read the rest of the statement, so I'm going to have to read a little bit of it because this bit is spectacular. This is on a February 14th Oval Office meeting. And I know what you're thinking, it's Valentine's Day and Donald Trump invited James Comey back to the Oval Office to have a one-on-one on Valentine's Day, and I don't know if there was candles at this one. He doesn't say. Actually, he didn't say in the first one either, but you knew that, right? You did know that. Anyway, February 14th in the Oval Office. Let me just read it. When the door by the grandfather clock closed and we were alone, the president began by saying, "I want to talk about Mike Flynn." Flynn had resigned the previous day. The president began by saying Flynn hadn't done anything wrong in speaking with the Russians, but he had to let him go because he had misled the vice president. The president then made a long series of comments about the problem with leaks of classified information, a concern I shared and still share. After a few minutes talking about the leaks, Reince Priebus leaned in through the door by the grandfather clock, and I could see a group of people waiting behind him. The president waved at him to close the door, saying he would be done shortly. The door closed, and in this is a big one, folks. So pay attention. The president then returned to the topic of Mike Flynn, saying, "He is a good guy and has been through a lot." He repeated that Flynn hadn't done anything wrong on his calls with the Russians, but had misled the vice president. He then said, this is Donald Trump speaking now, "I hope you can see your way clear to letting this go, to letting Flynn go. He is a good guy. I hope you can let this go." And holy smoke, it actually happened. Donald Trump actually asked the director of the FBI to drop an investigation into a person under investigation, and that warrants further investigation. Donald Trump wants Comey to drop the investigation into Michael Flynn. James Comey dropped the investigation into Michael Flynn. Donald Trump wants James Comey to drop the investigation into Michael Flynn. It never happened. He's a good guy. You know he's a good guy. Drop the investigation. Wow, that was so dope, wasn't it? I amaze myself. No, but this is pretty exciting. I was unsure that James Comey would actually have anything that he would say. And if this is true, if this is real, and it appears to be real, then that's absolutely massive. And now I can't wait for tomorrow, and I can't wait to jump on Twitter this evening and see what Donald Trump is saying about this, because you know it's going to be spectacular, and we will talk all about it tomorrow. We'll talk all about the Comey thing. We'll talk all about Donald Trump's tweets. It's going to be a great day. So go home tonight, get a good night's sleep, put some cucumbers on your eyes, wake up refreshed, and let's get into this. So guys, thank you so much for listening to me today, and I will chat with you tomorrow. Have fun. And remember, if you like what we're doing, hit like, subscribe, and leave me a nice little message in the comments on whatever you're listening to this, iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, or the other places where my voice is heard. And cheers. Bye-bye.